Hello everyone. In this lesson and in this series of lessons, we are going to learn JavaScript fundamentals. JavaScript is one of the most important and fun language to learn. The popularity and importance of JavaScript has grown exponentially and it will keep growing for some foreseeable future. There are multiple JavaScript based frameworks which are now an integral part of the modern web development. And it is very important for all of us to learn and understand the basics and fundamentals of this language. So that's what we are going to do in this series of lessons. We will learn the basics and fundamentals, and we will also going to cover some advanced topic like object-oriented programming in JavaScript in upcoming sessions. So let's get it started. In this session, we are going to learn the difference between where, let, and const keyword that are provided in the JavaScript. So before we start, where keyword has always been a part of JavaScript since its inception, but keyword let and const were introduced recently, not recently, like in 2015, as a part of ES6 specification. So let's deep dive into these keywords and their features. Let's talk about where keyword feature. Where keyword has no block scope. Where variables are either function wide or global. They are visible through blocks, if else, or for loop blocks in general, if we are talking about. So where keyword are either function scoped or global scoped. So if we see in this snippet, so we have declared a variable a inside this if block. So this if will always be true. So and when we are trying to access this variable here in line number 6, then we can do that because this is not confined to the if blocks and for each or for blocks. So that's why we can access these block. But if we talk about the second snippet where we have declared a variable sum inside the function, if we try to access this variable outside this function, then we cannot do that because now that variable sum becomes a function variable. So it is not a global variable. So that's what we are talking about in point number 2, where variables are either function wide or global. The third point is the most important point. Declaration of where variables are hoisted, meaning it is moved to the top of their scope. So whenever we declare any variable with the keyword where, then the declaration part is moved to the top of the scope. If it is being declared inside the function, then the declaration will be moved to the top of the function scope, and if it is declared globally, then the declaration will be moved to the top of the global scope. So that's what we can see in this third snippet, where we are trying to access a variable a which is not yet declared, and it is declared only after this console.log. So it is we can access this variable only because of this hoisting. So when we will try to run this script, then the declaration part will be moved to the top of the scope, and then since it has already been declared, then we can access it. But uh, there is one thing that you need to keep in mind, that only the declaration part is moved to the top, not the assignment part. So when you will run this script, then it will log undefined because value has still not been assigned. Value is only going to be assigned in this particular line when this will execute. So it will not give the reference error, but it will print undefined. So that's about the where keyword. Now let's talk about the let keyword. So as I mentioned earlier, that let keyword was added as a feature of ES6, which came in 2015. So let keyword was added to remove the problems of hoisting, i.e. they don't pollute global scope. So due to the hoisting, uh, global scope is polluted, because each and every keyword, each and every variable you are creating through the var keyword, they are going to be in the global scope, so that becomes polluted. So that is not the problem with the let keyword. And variables defined with the let keyword cannot be accessed outside their scope. So if you see in this code snippet here, so this is the same code snippet as in previous slide, but here we are using the let keyword. So if you try to do this, then this will give the reference error, because let keyword variables are uh, confined to their particular scope in which they are declared. So whether it is if block or for block or any function, whatever it is, they are going to remain accessible only within their scope. So it can only be accessed within this scope, within these curly braces. So this will give the reference error, and similarly when we try to access this variable sum, it will also give the reference error, because this is defined inside the function. So uh, the scope of this variable is only limited to the function itself, not outside. So when we talk about removing the problem of hoisting, so we can see from this code snippet. So if you try to run this program, then this will also give the reference error while accessing, because we are declaring the variable only after we are trying to access it. So we cannot access it before we have declared it, because it is not moved to the global scope, unlike the var keyword. So I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to convey here, but if not, then we will be going through our coding session, practice session, then we can learn more about these, then we can see live. Let's talk about the const keyword. So const keyword behaves exactly like let keywords, except it provides one additional feature, that is a variable declared with const keyword cannot be modified. So if you have a requirement to declare a variable whose value is never going to be changed, then you must declare that variable with the const keyword, because it will prevent any further modification in that variable, either intentional or unintentional. So if you try to do this, if you declare a variable pi with value 3.14, and now when you try to override the value or reassign the value variable pi with 3.141, this will give the assignment error. So you cannot do this. So these are the basic differences between let, const, and var keywords. So this was the theory. Now let's move to the coding part, where we will see these things in action. So let's see the differences of these three keywords in action. So I have some code written here. So I'm just going to show you in action how this is going to behave. These three keywords are going to behave. So basically, in the first code, like in the slide, we saw that we declared a var keyword inside a if block, and then we were able to access it. Sorry, not 10. We are going to print a console.log. Let's try to execute it. See, so in the output window, we can see 10 printed here, even though it was declared inside the if block, still we are able to access it. And you can also assign it some other value, and if you to console dot again, then it will print the modified value. So here first it will print 10, and then it will print 20. Okay, so now we can see, let's comment out this code, and let's uncomment this code. Okay, so now let's try to see how this var keyword behaves inside a function. So here we have function add, and inside it we have declared a variable sum. Now we are going to call this function so that this variable gets initialized, and then we'll try to access it. So if we will do like in like we saw in our slide as well, this will give the reference error. So let's see in action. Go ahead and execute it. So here, yeah, a reference error sum is not defined because this is now a function level scoped variable. So we cannot access it outside function. So, but we can do, what we can do here is let's try to do print this sum variable here. Then what do you think it will give? Will it print the value or it will print the undefined? So let's go ahead and see. It will print the undefined. Yeah, so here first it will print the undefined because the declaration part will be moved to the top, and then we can access this variable, but here it will not be accessible. So here it will give the reference error. Okay, so this code is same as writing this. So this is same. So here we have declared a variable on the top of the scope of this function, and then we are trying to print it, and then we are trying to assign some value. So still it is going to execute in the same way like it executed earlier. We are going to comment this out, and let's try to run it. See, undefined, it will print. Okay, so we have seen the working of where keyword. Uh, Now let's try to do the same for the let keyword. So here, let me try to replace the where with the let keyword. Let me comment this out. I'm also going to comment this out. We'll use this later. So if we try to do this, this will give the reference error because let keywords are always scoped. So no matter in which block they are defined, they cannot be accessed outside their block. So if you try to run this is going to give you reference error. A is not defined. So you cannot do this. You can only access, and neither you can do this. So even if you try to do this, you try to access the variable before it is declared, then also it is going to give you the reference error. So let me clear out the console, try to run it. So here it will give the console.log error. So once it encounters any error, it will stop the further execution of the script. That's why we cannot see the next error for this console.log. Okay, so now let's try to do this for inside the function. So this is the same example, except we are going to use the let keyword, but we are going to remove. Okay, so here we have defined a let variable inside the function, and we will try to access it outside the function. So that is not going to happen. We all know that. We have seen that. So this will give the reference error, and even if we try to access it before it is declared, then also it will give the reference error. So I think it has made everything clear. Now you understand how to use the let keyword and how to use where keyword, what will be their scope. Okay, so now let's move to the const keyword. So as we saw in our slide, that const keywords behave exactly like let keywords, except they provide some additional feature to keep the value constant. So let me declare a variable const pi equals to 3.14, and then we will try to reassign the value of pi with 3.141, and console.log pi. So it is going to throw an error on line number 2 because const variables cannot be reassigned. See, assignment to constant variable, this is the type error it will give you. It will not let you have it. So and if I go ahead and remove it, then sorry, let me first remove it, clear the console, run it will print the 3.14. So we can also see one more thing, if true equals to 3.14 const for by, and remove it. And if we try to do this, then also this is going to give reference error because pi is not accessible outside this block. So let's prove that here. Reference error pi is not defined. It can only be accessed inside this block, like the let keyword. So that's it for today's lesson. And if you have any question, please post your question in the comment box and I'll try to reply your questions. Thank you so much.